The room was buzzing with anticipation, yet most people didn't even know what to expect. All they saw was a man, lean, compact, calm, stepping into a space dominated by towering figures and overwhelming confidence. People whispered, glanced at one another, some laughed quietly. "He's too small. He doesn't stand a chance," one voice muttered. That was the first mistake. Underestimation. The oldest trap in human nature. Imagine the scene. Lights glared down from above, reflecting off the polished floor. The crowd leans forward instinctively, sensing that something is about to happen, though none of them could have predicted the truth. Even seasoned fighters, trainers, and martial arts masters who had seen hundreds of demonstrations looked on skeptically. They had heard the rumors, claims of lightning speed, unmatched precision, but they had no reason to believe that the stories were real. Bruce Lee, the man in question, exuded a quiet confidence. No dramatic entrance, no music blaring, no entourage, no theatrics. Just a calm, collected figure standing, almost still, in a world that thrived on showmanship and spectacle. There was something hypnotic about him, something almost invisible. His body was relaxed, yet every muscle, every nerve seemed ready to react instantly. Every breath measured, every motion deliberate. Now think about the audience. The energy is palpable. Some are curious, some skeptical, some outright dismissive. "This is going to be fun," one boxer jokes. "Let's see if all that kung fu talk is real," another whispers, half to himself, half to the person next to him. The tension grows, not from fear, but from anticipation. People lean in closer, unconsciously holding their breaths, because everyone knows that even the smallest miscalculation could be extraordinary. Here's the critical point. This isn't just a man entering a ring. It's a human experiment, a confrontation between perception and reality, between what people think is possible and what they have yet to witness. You can feel in your chest, can't you? That strange mix of curiosity, excitement, and a little bit of doubt. The moment begs a question. Have you ever underestimated someone based on appearances alone? And that's exactly the trap. Because in just a few seconds, the narrative will shift. The man they thought weak will prove that strength isn't always measured in size, muscle, or bravado. It's measured in focus, precision, and mastery. The whispers stop. The laughter fades. Every eye is on him. The impossible is about to begin. As the murmurs in the room faded, a new presence demanded attention. Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight champion of the world, standing tall, confident, larger than life. At 6 feet 3 inches and 210 pounds of raw power, he was a force that had dominated boxing for years. Every fighter who stepped into a ring with him knew one truth. Ali was lightning fast, almost untouchable and unbeatable. And yet, tonight, the focus wasn't only on him. Across the arena, the whispers shifted. "Did you hear?" someone said. "Ali's calling him out. Bruce Lee, the kung fu master." Others shook their heads in disbelief. "No way. Ali doesn't do this. He's undefeated for a reason," another voice muttered. But the chatter only heightened the anticipation. Every person present, from boxing trainers to martial arts masters, from reporters to ordinary spectators, was now asking the same question. Could this small, lean martial artist actually stand a chance against the greatest boxer alive? Here's where it gets fascinating. People in other cities and countries were already talking about it. In Los Angeles, martial arts schools buzzed with rumors of the upcoming demonstration. In London, boxing fans debated it in pubs, shaking their heads in doubt. In Tokyo and Hong Kong, Bruce's students waited eagerly for news, imagining the confrontation. Even in New York and Paris, sports analysts wondered if Ali was serious or just pulling another stunt to entertain the world. Back in the arena, Ali's presence alone radiated confidence. His smile, his banter, the way he taunted the air, it was all psychological warfare. He gestured toward Bruce with that famous grin, joking, "I might step on him by accident. Maybe I should close my eyes to make it fair." The crowd laughed, half in amusement, half in nervous anticipation. But Bruce didn't react. He remained calm, almost meditative, his eyes focused and unwavering. Every movement he made was purposeful, precise. Every muscle relaxed, yet ready. Now pause for a moment. Imagine being in the crowd. You know the reputation of these two men. You know Ali's power, his history. And yet, there's this palpable tension, this unspoken question hanging in the air. Who truly controls their body and their mind better? Who will define what is possible tonight? This is more than a demonstration. It's a battle of philosophy, of mastery, of skill versus strength. And for the first time, the world is watching, not just to see a punch land, but to witness the impossible, the unforeseen, the kind of moment that challenges everything we think we know about combat. The arena grows quiet. Every eye is on Bruce Lee, and the world collectively holds its breath. The doors to the arena opened, and the crowd shifted instinctively. A hush fell over the 250 spectators, a quiet anticipation that almost seemed to vibrate through the air. This was the moment many had been waiting for, yet no one truly knew what to expect. Some were skeptics, some believers, and some simply curious. Then he appeared. Bruce Lee. No fanfare, no dramatic entrance music, no entourage. Just a man, wearing simple black pants and a sleeveless black shirt, walking with the effortless grace of water flowing downhill. He moved slowly, deliberately, every step controlled, yet exuding a quiet confidence that demanded attention. Even from the back of the arena, the lean, compact figure seemed to radiate power. The human mind is quick to judge appearances. At 5 feet 8 inches and 140 pounds, Bruce looked fragile compared to Muhammad Ali, a man 70 pounds heavier and towering over him by 7 inches. Many in the audience whispered among themselves. "There's no way," some muttered. "This is going to be embarrassing for him." The expectation was clear. This was a mismatch in every measurable sense. But appearances are often deceiving. Bruce's body was relaxed, almost casual, yet his eyes told a completely different story. Locked on Ali, unblinking, unwavering, filled with a laser-like focus that seemed to pierce through the room. He wasn't reacting to Ali. He was anticipating, calculating, understanding every possible angle and response in advance. He had trained for decades to read human movement, to exploit the slightest weaknesses. Here's where it gets fascinating, and where you, the viewer, should pause for a moment. Think about the last time you underestimated someone. How did it feel when they surprised you? That same shock was about to ripple through every person in the arena. The energy was electric. Half the crowd was convinced this was a stunt. The other half, especially martial arts practitioners, leaned forward with wide eyes, sensing something extraordinary was about to happen. Bruce stepped into the ring. The floorboards seemed to absorb his weight, as if the arena itself acknowledged the precision in his movement. He didn't shout, he didn't flex. He simply assumed a posture that was neutral yet poised, relaxed yet ready. Every muscle and joint aligned perfectly, every breath slow, rhythmic, measured. It was as if he were meditating in motion. Muhammad Ali, for his part, could not hide his curiosity. Usually confident, always the entertainer, he smiled at Bruce, cracked a joke to the audience, and gestured with theatrical exaggeration. "I might have to close my eyes to make it fair," he said, eliciting laughter from the crowd. Yet behind the smile was a spark of genuine interest. Ali had faced the best fighters in the world, men who could punch with the force of a sledgehammer. Yet something about Bruce unsettled him. There was an unfamiliar energy in the ring, a challenge not of brute force, but of mastery. Pause again and consider this. The audience isn't just watching a physical confrontation. They're witnessing a clash of philosophies. Boxing is about power, endurance, and reflex. Martial arts, as Bruce practiced it, was about understanding the human body, precision, timing, and exploiting vulnerability. Which approach would prevail? Who would define the limits of human capability tonight? Every eye in the arena followed Bruce as he prepared. The air was thick with anticipation. Conversations stopped. Breaths were held. Some reporters tried to discreetly film what was happening, but no one dared speak. This was the kind of moment that would stay with witnesses forever, even if the world outside never believed it. And then, in a gesture so small yet so loaded with meaning, Bruce raised his hand slightly, not in offense, not in defense, but in readiness. It was a silent statement. I am prepared. I am in control. And whatever happens next, it will be precise, it will be deliberate, and it will demand respect. Audience questions to engage. If you were in the audience, would you be cheering, doubting, or holding your breath in disbelief? Have you ever underestimated someone's abilities and been proven completely wrong? What do you think is more important in a fight? Raw power or precision and focus? This was the calm before the storm. Every person in the arena understood that the next few seconds could redefine their understanding of skill, speed, and control. And no one, not even Muhammad Ali, fully grasped what was coming. The arena fell completely silent. The kind of silence that presses against your chest, making each breath heavier. Every spectator, from veteran trainers to curious onlookers, instinctively leaned forward. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Muhammad Ali, the undefeated heavyweight champion, stood confidently in the center of the ring. His arms were spread wide, his feet firmly planted, a smile playing across his face. But something had shifted. There was a tension in his eyes, a spark of curiosity, a hint of respect for the lean figure standing mere feet away. Bruce Lee, in contrast, remained utterly still. His posture was calm, unassuming, almost casual. Yet his presence radiated control and precision. Every eye in the room was drawn to him. And yet, paradoxically, no one could predict what he would do next. That was the genius of his mastery. The ability to control not only his own body, but also the tension of everyone around him. Let's pause here for perspective. Imagine being in the audience. You know the history. Ali had faced men with fists like sledgehammers, men who could knock out opponents with a single punch. And yet here he was, standing unguarded, vulnerable, in front of men many considered smaller, weaker, and untested in the boxing ring. How would you feel? Excited? Nervous? Skeptical? That mixture of emotions is exactly what made this moment unforgettable. Bruce's eyes locked onto Ali's solar plexus, the nerve cluster beneath the chest that controls breathing and core muscle function. He didn't look at Ali's face, didn't react to the banter or the jokes. His focus was absolute, unbroken. Years of training, discipline, and study of the human body had prepared him for this. Every fiber of his being was aligned toward a single goal. One precise strike, one perfect execution. Human explanation/engagement. This is the moment where theory meets reality. Martial arts is not about brute strength. It's about understanding the human body. Timing, placement, and energy transfer can turn a seemingly small action into a devastating effect. Most people underestimate this because it's invisible to the untrained eye. Audience question: have you ever seen someone make something look effortless and then realized it took years of practice to achieve? How did that change your perception of skill? Ali's trainers exchanged nervous glances. One whispered he's too calm. Ali should never stand still like this. But Ali shrugged, confident in his experience, yet internally intrigued. He had faced every imaginable punch, every strategy, every type of fighter. And yet, he had never encountered someone who exuded calm with such absolute focus. The spectators could feel the tension building. Conversations had stopped entirely. The only sound was the faint hum of anticipation. Some tried to quietly raise phones to capture the moment, though cameras had been prohibited. The energy was electric, half disbelief, half awe. Bruce shifted slightly, not in a wind-up, not in a telegraph motion, but in the most natural, fluid movement possible. Every muscle remained relaxed, yet the potential for explosive action hummed like a coiled spring. He didn't rush. He didn't hesitate. He simply waited, perfectly timed, in total control of space, distance, and opportunity. Audience question: if you were in Ali's shoes, standing completely still, vulnerable to a master you've never faced, what would be going through your mind? Would you trust your instincts or fear the unknown? The moment stretched longer than expected. Each second felt eternal. Every heartbeat echoed through the arena as Bruce prepared. The impossible was on the horizon, and everyone in the room knew it. The calm before the strike was not empty. It was charged, a mental battlefield where anticipation, fear, respect, and curiosity collided. And then, as if the world itself held its breath, Bruce Lee took the final subtle step forward. Not dramatic, not exaggerated, but deliberate. The entire arena leaned in, unknowingly preparing to witness something that would challenge their understanding of speed, skill, and control. The air in the arena seemed to thicken, as if it had realized something impossible was about to happen. Every eye locked on Bruce Lee, every heartbeat synchronized with the tension in the ring. Muhammad Ali stood still, confident yet curious, fully exposing himself. His arms hung wide, chest forward, feet planted, a deliberate invitation. And Bruce, calm as water, waited. Then it happened, not with a wind-up, not with any dramatic flourish, but with the most natural, fluid motion imaginable. Bruce's fist moved, a blur to the untrained eye, almost invisible to the crowd. One moment it was at his side, the next it was 6 inches from Ali's solar plexus. The speed was staggering, defying logic, almost as if time had slowed for everyone watching. The human mind struggles to process such instantaneous action. Try to imagine seeing something move faster than your eyes can follow. Your brain says, watch, but your eyes lag behind reality. That's what occurred in those few heartbeats. Ali, the fastest defensive boxer in history, experienced something that was not a punch he could anticipate, dodge, or counter. This was precision. This was mastery. This was Bruce Lee. Impact. A sharp, precise crack. Not a thud, not a chaotic collision, but a perfectly placed strike that found the exact point where nerves and breath intersect. Ali's body reacted instantly. Not like a boxer absorbing a strong punch. No staggering, no flailing. Instead, his legs weakened. His diaphragm spasmed. His arms dropped like dead weight. For a fraction of a second, the man who had conquered every opponent, who had never been knocked down by the strongest fists on earth, was paralyzed by a single strike. Pause here and consider the weight of that moment. Imagine witnessing the impossible. A human being, 70 pounds lighter, with no boxing experience, temporarily disrupting the body of a man whose strength and speed are legendary. The room was silent, frozen in disbelief. Not a sound, not a cough, not a whisper, just stunned awe. Audience engagement. If you were there, would you have believed your own eyes? How would it feel to see someone smaller, seemingly weaker, dominate with such precision? Ali's trainers exchanged wide-eyed glances, whispers trailing off. It can't be real, one murmured. But it was real. Every muscle reaction, every breath, every second of stunned silence confirmed it. The demonstration was not about harm. Bruce Lee had struck with perfect control. There was no malice, no intent to injure, only to prove mastery. Bruce remained calm, hand returning naturally to his side. No celebration, no triumph. Just focus. Respect for the moment, respect for Ali. And Ali, slowly regaining control of his body, gasped for air, astonishment written across his face. He looked at Bruce, not with anger, not with disbelief, but with the kind of respect that only comes when someone shows you something you could never have imagined. Audience reflection. Have you ever witnessed someone do something that made you question your entire understanding of skill? What would you do if you were faced with that in real life? And then, as the paralysis faded, as Ali's body came back under his control, a profound realization settled over everyone. Strength, size, and experience matter, but mastery, precision, focus, and understanding can redefine the limits of what is possible. The crowd erupted, not in chaos, but in awe, debate, and whispered exclamations. They had witnessed something that would be remembered, debated, and questioned for decades. Bruce Lee had not just struck a man. He had demonstrated the power of control, the elegance of human mastery, and the reality that the impossible sometimes exists in plain sight. The silence that followed the strike was deafening. Not the silence of emptiness, but the kind that presses down on your chest, filling your mind with questions that have no easy answers. Every single person in the arena froze, not daring to move, not daring to breathe too loudly. What had just happened? How could it be possible? Muhammad Ali, the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, slowly bent his knees, then sank to both knees, his hands pressing against the canvas as he tried to steady himself. For a moment, the arena held its collective breath, waiting to see if the man who had faced champions, killers, and legends could rise again. The answer was yes, but not before the reality of Bruce Lee's skill had fully registered. Ali's face was a study in disbelief. He was conscious, alert, but his body had betrayed him. The spasm in his diaphragm, the sudden weakness in his legs, the momentary loss of control, all of it had been caused by a single strike. And not a strike from just any fighter, but from a man who seemed impossibly small, impossibly calm, and impossibly precise. Audience engagement. Imagine witnessing your hero, someone you've admired for years, suddenly overwhelmed by a single, perfectly executed action. How would it make you feel? Shocked? Awed? Or skeptical? Bruce Lee stood perfectly still, hand lowered, expression calm. No celebration, no gloating. His eyes reflected only focus and respect. There was no need for theatrics. He had proven the point in the most elegant way possible. This was mastery in its purest form. One precise action, complete control, no excess, no unnecessary show. Ali slowly lifted his head and looked at Bruce. For the first time in his career, words failed him. He had faced punches that could break bones, hits that could floor any man, but this was different. This was understanding applied with absolute precision. Ali's mind raced. He had seen the limits of his own body tested in countless battles. Yet this strike exposed something entirely new. The vulnerability of the human body when precision meets deep knowledge. The crowd, too, was in awe. Whispers turned to murmurs, murmurs to low exclamations. Skeptics were shaken. Believers were vindicated. People debated what they had just seen. Was it real? Could it really happen? The room split between disbelief and admiration. Every witness felt the same mixture of excitement and confusion. They had seen something extraordinary, something that transcended ordinary combat, something that challenged their perception of human potential. Human explanation. This moment wasn't about raw strength or brute force. Bruce Lee demonstrated that knowledge, timing, and understanding of the human body could surpass sheer size and power. He had struck where human physiology is most vulnerable, causing a temporary shutdown of Ali's core muscles. Not as an act of cruelty, but as a demonstration of the depth of skill. This was not luck, and it was not performance. It was mastery. Audience question. Have you ever underestimated someone only to be proven wrong in a single, unforgettable moment? How did it change the way you viewed skill or ability? Ali slowly rose, supported by Bruce's hand. The gesture was more than physical. It was symbolic. Here was the greatest boxer alive, acknowledging not just a successful demonstration, but a new paradigm. He raised Bruce's hand, signaling respect, admiration, and recognition of mastery that transcended traditional measures of strength. The gesture sent a shock wave through the audience, a moment of humility, a moment of truth. And yet, questions remained. Was it fair? Was it staged? Could anyone else replicate such a feat? Those who had been there knew the answer. It was real. It was raw, undeniable skill. And even without video proof, the impact of what had happened could not be erased. The lessons were clear. Size, strength, and reputation matter, but they are not the ultimate determinants of mastery. Knowledge, focus, and precision can change everything. The audience, still buzzing, was left with a mix of awe and curiosity. They had witnessed not just a demonstration of power, but a demonstration of what human potential could achieve when honed to perfection. It was a lesson, a story, and a moment that would echo in their minds forever. Audience reflection. What would you do if you could witness someone at the peak of human skill? Would you be inspired to push your own limits, or simply stand in awe? This was more than a fight. It was a revelation. a lesson in respect, skill, and the boundless potential of the human body. And it was a story the audience would never forget. Bruce Lee's demonstration was over, yet the energy in the arena refused to dissipate. He did not linger. Without a word, he moved with the same fluid grace he had shown entering, stepping over the ropes and disappearing into the night. No interviews, no cameras, no stage showmanship, just a quiet exit that left the audience in stunned silence. It was a departure befitting the moment. Simple, focused, and dignified. Muhammad Ali remained in the ring, still processing what had occurred. The weight of the experience was not physical. It was mental, emotional, and deeply philosophical. He had faced the hardest hitters in boxing history, men whose power could shatter bones, whose fists could floor anyone. Yet here he was, temporarily paralyzed, humbled, and awed by a single strike from a man 70 pounds lighter than him. The audience buzzed with whispers, questions, and disbelief. Trainers shook their heads. Martial arts masters nodded knowingly, and reporters scribbled furiously, attempting to capture the impossible in words. But words alone could not convey the raw impact of what they had just witnessed. This was more than a display of physical skill. It was a revelation of human potential. Audience engagement. Have you ever seen a moment so extraordinary that it changed your perspective entirely? How would you describe it to someone who wasn't there? Ali finally straightened, wiping sweat from his brow. His usual charisma returned, but it was tempered with genuine respect. He extended Bruce's hand, holding it high for everyone in the arena to see. The gesture was monumental, not just a champion acknowledging another, but a symbol of understanding that mastery is not bound by size, reputation, or tradition. Strength is important, but it is not everything. Knowledge, focus, and precision can create moments that defy logic. In the days following, the story spread, slowly, quietly, but powerfully. The mainstream sports media dismissed it as rumor, speculation, or exaggeration. There was no video evidence, no official record, just eyewitness accounts. But the martial arts community embraced it, seeing in it the validation of Bruce Lee's philosophy. Efficiency, precision, and a deep understanding of the human body could transcend conventional expectations. Human explanation. Bruce Lee's strike was not merely a punch. It was a demonstration of applied biomechanics, energy transfer, and nerve targeting. By striking the solar plexus, he temporarily disrupted Ali's diaphragm and nervous system. The effect was instant paralysis, a physical manifestation of absolute control and understanding of human anatomy. This wasn't about overpowering someone. It was about understanding and exploiting the human system in its most precise form. Audience reflection. Do you think mastery comes from strength alone or from understanding and focus? Could you see yourself applying this principle in your own life beyond martial arts? Ali, in private conversations and interviews with trusted friends, admitted the truth. Bruce Lee hit me, and I didn't see it coming. I felt something I've never felt in boxing. That man is incredible. One strike and it changed everything. Publicly, he remained diplomatic, honoring Bruce while protecting the mythos of boxing. Privately, he carried the lesson with him for the rest of his life. For Bruce Lee, the event was validation, not glory. It confirmed the principles he had dedicated his life to, the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do. Efficiency, speed, and understanding of the human body could overcome raw power. Yet, true to his character, he never sought fame for the demonstration itself. To Bruce, the knowledge and respect between warriors mattered far more than public acclaim. The legend grew over the years. Those present told their stories, sometimes embellished, sometimes factual, but always awe-inspiring. Martial arts schools referenced it in teaching. Boxing enthusiasts debated its plausibility. And everyday people, who had only heard fragments, wondered what truly happened that night in San Francisco. Audience reflection. If you had witnessed the impossible, would you share it, or would you keep it as a personal lesson? How does witnessing skill at its peak change your view of what humans can achieve? Ultimately, this story, real, unverified, and legendary, exists in the space between myth and reality. It reminds us that mastery comes in many forms, and greatness is not always defined by size, strength, or fame. It is defined by understanding, precision, and the courage to push boundaries. On that night, in March 1973, Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali created a moment that transcended combat, transcended ego, and inspired awe. A single strike, a gesture of respect, and a lesson that would echo for decades. The world may never fully believe it, but those who were there, and those willing to imagine, know the truth. Mastery is limitless, and the impossible is sometimes just a demonstration away.